This is Monkey Business, and you are the listener, and we love you for it. And I am your host. This is Chris, and with me, as always, is the Mighty Monkey crew. We got Billy.
Hello.
And Tanya.
Hi.
And producer Sherry.
Hello.
And in the studio for her first run at the microphone is our event manager for the Flower City Comic Con, Sarah Marvin. Say hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Sarah, you're going to be hanging out with us for today?
Yeah,
that's phenomenal. I'm looking. This is cool. I like having you on board. And when we do our business, you can actually let us know what's going on in terms of events and stuff, because that's kind of your thing. We had a successful viewing of The Princess Bride, and we got all sorts of stuff up our sleeve, and it's mainly because of Sarah. So that's good stuff.
Yay,
all right.
Sarah.
So this podcast brought to you by our sponsors, and I get to go through a very long list of that as Dolly and Edwin walk into the studio late. Again. It's okay. You're lucky I love you guys. But our sponsors, Knox, Selena's, First Print Comics, The Great Escape Room, and Wibbly Wobbly Timey Wimey. Wibbly Wobbly Timey Wimey is bringing us Caitlin Blackwood, the young Amelia Pond from Doctor Who. And so we thank you to all of our sponsors. And we have a Patreon shout-out. A new Patreon. And it's like stacking the deck, this one.
It is.
This one feels like we're stacking the deck a little bit, and it's almost making me feel bad that I'm not supporting my own podcast at this point.
Yeah. The whole reason why.
Thanks, Tanya.
Yeah. So
the whole reason why.
our newest Patreon shout-out is our co-host, Tanya Mattress.
You know what?
Way
I
to
just
guilt us
felt
all.
that I had to support what we were doing ourselves.
You haven't put enough money into this organization yet?
Well, I haven't put enough money into the podcast
Oh,
yet.
I see.
The organization, yes.
I see. Okay,
but we have
yes.
to support our podcast just a little bit more.
There you
Hey,
go.
$2 a
Absolutely.
month. That's my bottle money.
Okay,
So.
there you have it. And then Apple Podcast 5-star reviews. An easy way to support the show is to give us a 5-star review on iTunes, Apple Podcast. 5-star reviews make it easier for others to find us and expand our listener base. Every 5-star review will be thanked on air, and comments or questions you leave will be read and answered. And we say that, but nobody's taken us up on it yet, have they, Sherry?
We've had a couple.
We've had a couple?
Yeah, we haven't had any questions. But
We haven't had any
have-
questions yet.
But we have had some really nice reviews.
Okay.
So keep them coming, people.
That's outstanding.
Maybe
Please.
people are afraid of what answers they'll get.
Sarah, have you
With
enjoyed
this
being
group?
a podcast Patreon sponsor so far?
I have, and I also left a review on Apple. So.
Oh, thank you, dear. Thank you very much. Is that the one we couldn't
did.
account for? Maybe? I don't
It
know.
was the first one you guys read off.
Yes!
I
Was
think.
it really?
I'm
That's
sure that we've
phenomenal.
acknowledged her several times.
We are really good at
It's
patting
not enough.
ourselves on the shoulder in this organization.
When we said, we're like, we don't know who this person is.
But thank you very
But
much, because it was very
thank you.
kind of you to say.
You're welcome.
We figured it was somebody who knew us.
Yeah, and do you want to know who the second one was from?
Your mom,
You?
wasn't it?
Yes.
That's not stacking the deck at all either, is it?
Hi, doll. Hi. How you doing over there, kiddo?
Good. I just had a piece of brownie that Sherry made.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Those are, yeah, Sherry can cook, that's for sure. That's a thing. Or bake. Is it bake or
yeah.
cook?
It's-
You do both,
I do
really.
both. I
You do
both.
really do both.
I think I'm a better baker than I am a cook,
There
but
you
I'm
go.
getting to be a better cook.
All right,
I
everyday
had a
hero.
shout
But
out.
we don't have a everyday hero this week, do we?
Do you have one,
Do you
Dawn?
have one?
Actually, Edwin has one. Come here.
Edwin.
Edwin.
Edwin's
Not all
sister.
heroes wear capes. If you know a police officer, firefighter, EMT, paramedic, nurse, current or former military person who is your personal hero, send us a message telling us about them, and we will give that person a shout-out in the air. I actually have one, too. So, Edwin, go for it. You first.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my sister. She's currently is still in the service right now, and I consider her a hero because she shovels so many things, taking care of the kids, and then also serving our country. So I just wanted to give a shout out for my sister.
Absolutely.
branch is she in?
What branch?
She's in the military, Army.
Okay, she's in the
Army
Army.
branch.
What's her name?
Her name is Dagmar Torres.
Dagmar Torres, our everyday hero. And I personally would like to thank Dr. Ertrick and his high-end staff at Strong Memorial Hospital. I had a little procedure done this week myself. I'm starting to age, and my body is telling me that it's happening. So I had to go in and get some maintenance repairs, and those guys were absolutely astounding from word go.
I know that you out there will not believe this from the sound of his voice. Chris is old.
I mean, he has all his hair, though.
I do, as opposed to most. As opposed to most. But yeah, I'm definitely feeling my age. I'm feeling everybody's age today.
But yeah, he's not the oldest in the studio or at the gaming table. So.
No, but I'm feeling like I am today. So that's it. But no, thank you. I was in good hands, and that was really kind of cool, and it worked out really, really well. So there you have it. All right, so on to Business. Billy,
Yes, sir.
are we ready to bring our friend in for the day?
We are.
Outstanding.
I shall hit pause and dial
Did
up,
we
and we'll
talk
be
about
back.
upcoming events yet?
Oh,
I
Whole
did.
reason Sarah's here.
Oh my God.
Hi, remember me?
Did we talk about the
She's looking at me at the moment, isn't she?
Yes, she
Yes,
is.
big, wide, soft eyes.
I'm sorry, honey. In my defense, I've recently been out. I've been recently under sedation, so
It's still the drugs.
it's still the drugs. Still the drugs. Hi. And now we're
You
going to
wanted to
backtrack
lead
a
into
second.
her.
I'm going to introduce Sarah Marvin, our event manager for Flower City Comic Con.
Hello.
What now, did we give you a proper title? Is it like event manager? Sounds kind of like
Event
you run a party
coordinator.
house.
It was, events
Event
coordinator.
And is it event coordinator for Flower City Comic Con, or is it event coordinator for Mighty Monkey Corporation?
for the Mighty Monkey Corporation.
Corporation.
She's much more important than just a weekend event.
Absolutely.
So because Sarah has
and
been
she's pretty much in charge of everything but
the convention. In essence.
Eventually, we're going to hand those reins over to her.
Yes.
She's gonna do it
Eventually,
all.
she's going to be running the convention too, and we're all going to be standing in the background going, "Hey, hiring her was a good idea."
She will be the director, and we'll be all her assistants.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, really.
Me too.
she
So-
looks
Like
scared.
qualified assistants.
Yeah, overqualified, but it's all good.
She looks a little frightened.
No.
Sarah, dear, what do we have coming up so far? What do we got going on?
For February, we have the mini-con coming up at Grace Ridge Mall. That's on the 10th and 11th.
Okay.
Lots of fun stuff. Cosplay contest. We have some guests from Power Rangers Dino. Yeah.
Yes.
Dino Thunder.
And then on the 24th, we have our cosplay karaoke at Knox, which I am super excited about, from 8 p.m. till 11 p.m.
And I was in Knox last night for a couple minutes, and the speakers system does work with their smart TV, so that works. They did test it out the other day, and then the microphone is set up to a different speaker system. It's just like a regular portable one, so the music will be coming over the whole party room, and then everyone singing comes out a different speaker.
Now,
So maybe we can turn that down.
Are we doing fundraising or anything like that too at this event?
I'm thinking that we might take some donations to make Chris sing something really embarrassing. We'll see.
Not my stunt double, Chris, but it's actually going to be me. Gotcha.
Chris Frank singing "Baby Hit Me One More Time."
Oh my God! Yeah.
Actually, it was funny
that was brought up.
during the last staff meeting. They were actually talking about "I'm a Barbie Girl" from Aqua.
Okay.
Yeah, which I promise that if that's the one that's actually selected, I'm going to sing it down here. Just like I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
Come
Oh,
on,
here-
Barbie, let's go.
And we'll also have some raffle tickets for sale that should be starting this weekend at MiniCon.
Yes, we have our raffle coming up to do that. Any more information you want about the raffle, just go ahead and look for that on our website. FC3 latest guest announcements. We have Jake the Snake Roberts from World Wrestling Entertainment Hall of Fame.
Yay.
We have character actor extraordinaire Eric Avari
Yay.
from more things than we can even. We don't have enough podcasts to go through all the stuff
The
that's in
Mummy,
Eric's
Mr.
credits.
Mummy.
Heroes.
Stargate, I think it's Star Trek. I think he's been in
Yes,
everything
yes.
Star-ish at one point or another.
Yeah.
Josh
you're covered.
Herdman, who played Goyle in all the Harry Potter movies, he's making his first U.S. convention appearance
It
at
is.
Flower City Comic Con.
And can I tell you, our sponsors from Knox, the owner Kelly's like, woohoo!
All the Potter kids.
It's the first
All
year
the Potter.
that they've been actually
Slytherin.
able to get to the convention.
Yeah.
Because they've been on vacation the other
that's
years.
great.
So
Okay.
her and my niece Callan are like so excited to be there.
And then Michael Kosk from The Walking Dead. He plays a variety of walkers. He's been killed by Daryl on several occasions.
I'm sorry.
Yes. All right. So what's going to happen is the audio is not going to hiccup at this point, and when we come back,
Station identification.
station identification. This is WFC3. Anyway, when we come back, we are going to have the author Jim C. Hines. So give us a second, and we're going to go get Jim, and we're going to have a little talk. All right. So we had our little short break, and as promised, we are in the studio, and on the phone with us now is the author Jim C. Hines. Jim is the author of the Magic Ex Libris series, the Princess series of fairy tale retellings, the humorous Goblin Quest trilogy, and the Fable Legends tie-in Blood of Heroes. He is the latest novel, his latest novel is Terminal Alliance, book one in the humorous science fiction Janitors of the Post-Apocalypse trilogy, which I cannot wait to talk to you about, Jim. I'm telling you, just the title alone has got my attention. Jim is an active blogger about topics ranging from sexism and harassment to zombie-themed Christmas carols, and won the Hugo Award for Best Fan Writer in 2012. In some circles, he is best known for being the guy who did those gender-flipped SF cover poses. He lives in mid-Michigan with his family. Well, welcome from mid-Michigan, Jim Hines. Thank you for joining us today, sir, and it is wonderful meeting you.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
And I have to say, we were talking about it during the run-up when we were getting our prep done, and Sherry was showing me the pose-off that you were having with John Scalzi, and I got to tell you, that's probably one of the funniest things I've seen in such a long time. Now, what was your inspiration for doing that?
Originally, that whole project started out with just looking at book covers in the genre and the way that women tend to be just consistently not only objectified and sexualized, but done in a way that is a disservice to the story and to the character.
Okay.
I've had some people push back and say, what are you just being a prude and saying we're not allowed to have women be sexy? And it's like, no, that's not it. That's not it at all. Mm-hmm. It's that's the default. We put women in these poses, and they're not strong poses. They're posed. They're painted.
It's almost like an incomprehensible amount of physics that are involved.
At times, yes. Violating physics, violating anatomy, violating all sorts of scientific rules. And so I started out, I was just going to write a blog post saying, hey, maybe we should be respectful to characters. And yes, if this is appropriate to the character, sure. But this doesn't have to be every single woman in that twisted, you can see my butt and my breasts pose.
Yeah, in the same picture.
Right.
At the same time. And that's kind of, do you find that this commentary is kind of a theme of yours? Because I do see it, like we talked about it in the intro a little bit, an advocate against harassment, against a lot of this stuff that is kind of colored entertainment and media as of late. Do you find that this is an offshoot of that?
It all ties in, yeah.
It all ties in.
It's all part of, the way we treat women, the way we treat marginalized groups. There's so many layers to this stuff.
Yeah.
And it occurs at so many places in the process. Like the cover poses was not about attacking artists, because those cover requests, they come from marketing. They come from bookstores. Yes, the artists have some input into it. So do the writers. It's complex.
I don't think you've touched on that. I don't think I actually knew that. You have not as much say about the cover art as I would think. Like I would figure the author would say, okay, this is the picture I want on the cover, but other people have their input on that.
Commercial publishing, generally, the author has very little input, if any. At least the first 3 books, it was basically, I would get an email and it's like, here's your cover. Oh, okay. Fortunately, I love it. So good.
Yeah, the cover of Codex Born is probably one of my favorite book covers. I love her. I think she's so gorgeous.
I really like Lena, and that book cover was right after the whole cover posting had started coming out. So at that point, I was able to email my editor and say, look, I want to have Lena Greenwood on the cover. And if you do the boobs and butt pose, if you contort her into one of these, the entire internet is going to come down on your head and mine.
Yes, and
so the other piece, I think part of the reason authors don't always get a lot of say into covers is, to be honest, the fact that we can put words together doesn't mean we know anything about visual art.
Yes, thank you.
But by the time we had gotten to the Libriomancer books, my editor she and I had started to trust each other a bit more. And so I think she knew she could ask me for, do you have any ideas? Trusting that I wasn't going to be a complete, let's say, prima donna about it. So for that one, I was able to look at some of the photos that the artist did for reference. And we actually went several rounds because the model he got, and I thought the model was great, but she didn't know how to hold a sword. The entire first set of photos, it was just painful.
Oh,
But he was very willing to work with us. We sent him back some reference photos. He worked with the model again, did a second round of photo shoots for reference, and yeah, I was really happy with what we came out with. Now,
I think, when Sherry and I were talking about this and she was kind of introducing me to your background and whatnot, when I heard about Hugo, the Hugo Award, that was a big thing for me because I've been I'll go ahead and knock myself. I've been kind of a writer, an author wannabe for a long time, for most of my life at this point. I've been tinkering with writing and stories and like that. So the opportunity to get to talk to an actual Hugo Award winner is kind of like a film school student talking to Spielberg. It's like one of those moments where like, oh, cool, you've been there, you've done the thing. And so this is kind of a great thing for me. Well, it's, no pressure.
Me and Spielberg, yeah.
Yeah, well, you guys are tight. You guys are like this. You get the fingers crossed and everything. But
sure.
How does a journey like that begin? Is basically the where I'm heading with this. Is where does it start? How did the inspiration come about, and how do you feel that it kind of evolved into what you do today?
Do you mean the writing journey in general, or the Hugo journey in particular? Well,
the Hugo. Does anybody ever intentionally, when they start writing sci-fi and fantasy, do they ever intentionally start writing to earn a Hugo, or is that just kind of something that happens along the way?
I used to think, most people were doing it for the stories, but after some of the stuff that's been going on in the genre the past few years, I don't know anymore. There may be some that are just, I'm doing this because I am brilliant and I deserve trophies.
I can't imagine what you're referring to.
Yeah. So anyway, that was not... That was not a goal when I started.
Right.
I had the much more traditional idea that I was going to sit down. I had started writing, honestly, it was Dungeons & Dragons fan fiction. It was, what does my character do after this module?
I've done that. I've been there.
Oh, me too.
I'm a dungeon master myself, and I'm actually guiding Sherry through an email campaign at the moment. So, yeah, I know how that works.
Yep. But yeah, I had the much more down-to-earth expectation that I would write this story and then sell it, and then it would be a bestseller, and Hollywood would throw lots of money at me, and I would have this Dungeons & Dragons movie.
Okay.
Because I assumed that was how it went.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, I never considered all of the trophies, probably because I didn't know enough about them. But yeah, so I wrote that, discovered, hey, this is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I should do more. Started writing some short stories, started submitting stuff, thinking, here we go. I'm writing, I'm sending things out, the monies will flow in, here is my life. And as you can probably imagine, it didn't work that way. Spent the next decade or so collecting rejection letters.
Oh, boy.
Because,
okay.
To be honest, those first stories were really, really bad. One of them I even ended up self-publishing and giving myself the Mystery Science Theater treatment.
Really? Is that Sherry's notes I'm looking at. Is that the Rise of the Spider Goddess?
Yes.
Okay. So you republish it with your own notes in it.
Yep.
That's phenomenal.
1995, Jim wrote the actual book. And then 2015, Jim annotated it just full of snark and criticism. Oh, God, what was this young guy thinking?
That's awesome.
How many times can a character raise an eyebrow?
Did you count it?
I did. There's a running count in the book of all the eyebrow raises.
That's phenomenal.
Nice.
Give us a spoiler now. How many is it? What's the number?
Oh, it's been too long. I don't remember.
Okay. Well, we'll have to just read it ourselves now at this point, but that's okay.
You'll just have to go buy the book.
It's on my list of things to do now.
But yeah, despite all of the rejections and stuff, I discovered I love this. I love creating stories. I love those moments where, and you probably know, where everything just comes together.
Yes.
Where you have that moment of, oh, God, this is clever and brilliant and wonderful. Yes, I'll put it on the page.
I wear a rut in the carpet of the second floor of my house because I pace back and forth while I'm thinking about ideas. And I remember one time where I had something just kind of like all fit together, and I'm like, oh my God! And then a new idea pops in. I'm like, oh my God! So yeah, I know those eureka moments fairly well.
It's addictive, isn't it?
It is. It's like an adrenaline rush. It's amazing.
Like with the Libromancer books. At one point, I was doing research, and I came Yeah. Libriomancy is a form of magic that was founded by Gutenberg.
Okay.
And I'm researching Gutenberg's life, and he was actually put on trial. And the transcript from the judge, there's a part where they're saying, you, Gutenberg, are accused of developing and being a master of a secret art.
Oh, man.
Now, historically, they were presumably talking about the printing press.
Right.
But they never say it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just another of those moments of, oh, my God, this is perfect.
Uh-huh.
I am
fits in.
obviously meant to write this book and this story. And Gutenberg is a wizard. Awesome. So, yeah,
Such
moments
a good
like
book.
that.
Such a
I don't know.
good
I'm like
book.
looking motorcycle riding dryad, packs a pair of oak cudgels. I'm like, this is like D&D all ready
yeah.
for me. I'm like, I want the book.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We find people to interview that are basically they would be our tribe.
Yeah.
You know, this is.
You want to come back to New York for us?
Yeah, I know. We got to get you guys in from mid-Michigan sometime. Come hang out with us. Now, Libromancer, when was that? When did that come out? Libromancer. Anybody?
Libromancer came out in 2012.
2012. Okay.
And then there were 3 more books in the series over the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
And then just last month, there was a novelette that I put out that sort of continues things a bit.
Okay. Very cool. And Sherry is doing a little dance because she's like, have you read it already?
I have not read that
You have
one
not
yet.
read it, so you're excited.
Yes,
Basically, there's an
yes, I am.
anticipation to it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And what other projects are coming up so far, Jim?
Well, you mentioned Terminal Alliance, which came out in November.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on the second book in that trilogy.
Okay.
Beyond that, I've sent a couple of pitches to my agent to pass along, but those are sort of secret things I can't really talk about.
Right.
Except to say it would be really cool if one of them gets purchased.
Okay.
The agent is also shopping around a middle grade novel that I did.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens with that.
All right. Well, good luck with all of that. That's phenomenal. Sherry, go ahead.
You just touched briefly on your latest book series. So can you tell us more about that? Because we absolutely love every title that's involved with it.
Oh, thank you. Janitors of the Post-Apocalypse, yes.
That's the one.
It started out as a combination of 2 rather traditional science fiction ideas. One is the zombie apocalypse, and one is the aliens arrive on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
The problem being, the aliens arrive after the zombie apocalypse.
Okay.
So they've been getting all these signals. They're like, oh, Earth, they're an intelligent race. Let's go make contact. And they land, and they see these sort of shambling, unintelligent humanoids. And it's like, well, this does not match all of the signals in the broadcasts. And, and the humans at that point do what zombies do. They start trying to eat the aliens. It doesn't go over well. But in the process, the aliens are realizing, okay, we're shooting them, and it's not doing anything. Our little lasers, they put holes in the humans, and they keep coming. If it weren't for how stupid they are, these humans would make really good space marines.
And it evolves from there. Hijinks ensue.
So they work to try and cure the humans. They sort of succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward 100 years, we have humans flying around on the spaceships serving as the Earth Mercenary Corps.
Okay.
Not as bright as humanity originally was, but very difficult to stop. And of course, the whole galaxy thinks, oh God, not humans, they're monsters. They're just like one slip away from going feral and trying to eat my face.
That's amazing. Okay. So I'm seeing how that's all. Okay. That's cool.
And then
There's more.
I started writing, and the first draft was from the perspective of some of these Space Marine types.
Uh-huh.
And I realized, no, these guys are too competent. This isn't funny enough, and I want this to be funnier and fun and goofy. So threw away the first draft, tried again, and said, and now the entire crew of the ship has been incapacitated except for the janitorial staff.
Oh, God.
So now these humans have to figure out how to fly the ship and fight the bad guys and deal with the conspiracy and stop the space battle and all this other stuff. And really, the only thing they're good at is cleaning the ship. So there are scenes where, okay, bad guys are closing in. Okay, can we shoot at them? I don't know. I'm pulling up the tutorial. Screen pops up. It looks like you're trying to engage evasive maneuvers. Would you like assistance with that?
Yes.
And that's the book, yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, I can't wait.
I am so stopping at Barnes & Noble on the way home.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just that alone.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Billy.
When you were growing up a young man, what books were your favorite to read? Because I think every artist, author, writer, singer has something that influenced them along the way, and I'm curious what influenced your work and what you just enjoyed as you were a young man reading.
For a long time, I was very much into all of the Star Trek books.
Okay.
This would have been 25, 30 years ago when it was possible to collect and buy all of the Star Trek books.
I know. I enjoy the Star Trek books myself, and you just can't get them all anymore.
Right. My parents eventually got tired of me reading nothing but Star Trek.
Did you also read the James Blish versions of the television show? Because I
had some of those, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the sort of novelize the script.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, what broke me into the larger science fiction fantasy, my parents picked up Raymond Feist's Rift War saga.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, ooh, I love this. This is cool. So devoured all 4 of those books and then started branching out a lot more. But for years, Star Trek was the big one.
Okay. That's good.
And I did like some of the traditional young geek stuff, the Narnia books, Wrinkle in Time, all of those.
Now, since your stuff has a sense of humor, I'm assuming Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was somewhere in there.
I did eventually discover Hitchhiker's Guide and Terry Pratchett. Loved all of that stuff. Picked up the novelizations of some of the Red Dwarf stuff.
Oh, wow.
Well.
Okay.
I love Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Red Dwarf.
Well, it's British.
I haven't seen the most recent stuff, but at least the first 5 or 6 seasons were. This was very much a part of my college upbringing.
Yeah,
The sheer
mine too,
absurdity of
actually.
it. Absolutely.
Yep.
The sheer absurdity of it. Dolly, did you?
I've seen it twice.
Yeah, gone through. Now, Dolly, did you have a question?
I did have like a random writer question.
Okay.
Oh, I like random questions.
I'm definitely your girl for that then. We were talking about your process of writing and how you go through when you're creating your novels.
Mm-hmm.
I do a little bit of script writing, and I was just curious, is it normal to act out your dialogue to make sure it sounds right? Do you do that?
No,
process?
that's really weird. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's got their own process, too.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got what works for them. But, yeah, there are people who will talk out the dialogue. I've got one friend who blocks out all of their scenes using Barbie dolls.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sometimes it'll be just getting up and pacing around the room trying to figure out how to do a fight scene. But yeah, reading aloud, whether for dialogue or just in general, you catch a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it does make a difference because when you're just typing it on the screen, or typewriter or writing by hand or however you do, your brain knows what's supposed to be there. And it will sometimes fill in the blanks or smooth over something that sounds awkward or bumpy. When you read it out loud, you've got to slow down. There's much more of a focus on the actual words on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you do catch a lot more things that way.
I've discovered that. Like I'll sit there stream of consciousness and I'll knock out 2 or 3 pages, and then I'll go back and read those 2 or 3 pages and go, oh, what was I thinking then? Where was oh, okay, yeah. Let me slow that down. Oh, I have to fix this. I have to change that.
Yeah, no, I've actually acted it out, like throwing myself on the floor as one character stood up as the other character. Yeah. I'm blocking it out with film.
Yeah, don't hurt yourself in the process.
It's like some of those poses that he does where he's falling off the couch.
Trying to see the boobs in the butt at the same time.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Not working out. Not working out.
Sherry?
Okay. So I have a question for you, Jim.
Okay.
Our very first major interview that we did, we were lucky enough to get Mark Ashiro. And I know
cool.
he is fabulous. And
it was fun.
He was just absolutely wonderful. And I know he was one of the.
About his new book?
I'm sorry, what?
Did he get to talk about his new book?
Yes,
He
Anger is a
did.
Gift.
He
Yep, he did get a chance to talk about that.
We said, tell us about your book. And he went, guys, I wrote a book.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Like you did?
And he had this wonderful sense of like it was surprising even to him.
Yes.
You know?
He is. He's. If you read his blog post or even just talk to him, he's in that sort of state of wonder.
Yes, absolutely.
I did the thing.
I did the thing.
He's not really real yet.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring him up, other than because I know you know him and he's always fun to talk about, is that I know he was a contributor for your first Invisible anthology, and I was wondering if you could talk to us about that.
The Invisible anthologies, there's been 3 of them now. They're all published in ebook, and they are collections of essays. And with Volume 3, we added poetry, talking about representation in science fiction and fantasy, the impact it has, the importance, the power, and trying to look at that representation from a lot of different perspectives, racial, sexuality, religion, ability, disability, neurotypical. Basically, I just, for each one, would put out an open call and say, hey, we want to talk about this. We want your personal stories about how representation or the lack of representation mattered. And Mark's essay was, it was wonderful. It was
beautiful.
Powerful. He opened up talking about how he and his brother, when they were growing up, the representation that they found, the only representation they found, was Speedy Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only character that they could find that they could relate to. And it's the fact that this little sort of caricatured mouse, that's all that you had, is just, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people talk about, the first time they really found themselves in stories or what it meant. One essay was about somebody who was bisexual but didn't understand, didn't know, what is this that I'm feeling? This is messed up. This is wrong. Until they found this character in a book, and it's like, wait, that's me. That's the terminology for what I'm feeling. This is who I can be. You mean that's okay? You get stories like one of my favorites is Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg was not a contributor to the anthologies, unfortunately, but she had done an interview that I reference in one of the introductions where one of the reasons she got into acting was Nichelle Nichols on Star Trek. And the first time she saw an episode and Whoopi Goldberg just starts shouting in the house, it's like, hey, Mom, hey, everybody, you've got to come here. You've got to come look. There's a black woman on TV, and she ain't no maid.
Yeah, I've heard that quote. Yep.
And just, so all 3 anthologies they've been powerful. They've been eye-opening to me, just how much of an impact it has. Who gets to be the hero in these stories? How do we treat these characters? And what do people learn from that? For Volume 3, I co-edited with Marianne Mohanraj, which it was her idea to bring in the poetry. She brought in a lot of new contributors and stuff. I think Volume 3 is probably the best one yet, thanks to her help. But yeah, it was a way of talking about representation and trying to build that conversation.
Okay.
And help people understand, writers and readers, this is why this stuff matters.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because honestly, growing up, I'm middle-class, straight white dude. This was never an issue for me.
Yeah.
Right.
I had no problem finding heroes that looked like me and acted like me and thinking, Yeah, I can be anything. I can be a starship captain and a Jedi and superhero and all of that.
Mm-hmm. That's our privilege shining through, isn't it, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know some people have a knee-jerk reaction to that word, but when you are surrounded with everybody telling you can be anything you want, it never occurs to you that other people don't have that.
I can relate.
That's
why my connection with Wonder Woman is so strong, because growing up, I've always been a top-heavy girl since I was younger, and the only representation when I was little was Jessica Rabbit, and she was kind of slutty.
Yeah. I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Yeah. So and that was always a representation with women who had boobs. They were always represented as, kind of slutty and easy, and then
something to look at.
Yeah, and then I kind of found Wonder Woman, and that's why I'm so vocal about how I feel about Wonder Woman, because that was the first time I found representation of a woman who had, features like me and was strong and wasn't someone to mess with and wasn't just a piece of eye candy for everyone to sleep with.
Well, and fitting in early on for me, as I was reading books, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, whatever, I was always able to insert myself into the story. I could take on, one of those characters was me. I could see myself being that person. And just about any book I picked up, I was able to find somebody who I could relate to. And as Jim was just saying, not everybody can have that story. So it's important to be able to expand and evolve and move forward.
And then you're devastated when that character dies.
That did happen to me. That did happen to me one time. I was reading a Heinlein book, and the character that I was identifying the most with got wiped, obliterated, and I was like, oh no.
Or they make a movie that changes the character.
Yeah,
completely.
Or your character dies in D&D. That you're really attached to.
No, we're not going there. No, we're way off.
But you identify with the character.
We have wandered off. Hi, Jim.
Sometimes those character deaths. I mean, there was the one time my character was dressed in full plate mail and decided he was going to jump into the whirlpool to try and save someone who was drowning.
Yeah,
I can see that happening.
Yep.
And sometimes the deaths are not the DM's fault. Sometimes it's no. Yeah, you're right. That was dumb. I'm dead. I'm going to go roll somebody up.
Just going to be over here rolling dice. Don't mind me.
Yeah, y'all carry on.
When we have a particular friend of ours who's a DM, when he's at the table, I always come to the table with my main character, and then there's a folder with 2 or 3 extras, just because I know it's going to happen.
One of those DMs.
One of those DMs.
He only has done the total party kill 4 times.
3-4 times. Yeah. See, so it's great. This is why we bring in people that we can relate to, because we nerds, we have to flock together. That's all there is to it.
That's one of the things I love about conventions.
Yeah. Now, do you get a chance to go to many conventions often? Do you get a chance?
I go to a few each year. Partly these days it depends. Sometimes I'll get invited to be a guest of honor or something like that, which, this works because they cover the costs, and I'm not making that much money from all of the books. There's a local convention I go to every year. There's one in Iowa that I go to every year as Toastmaster. So usually 5 or 6 events a year.
Okay.
Jim, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we have a convention.
Really?
This podcast was created about a year and a half ago to be the extension of the Flower City Comic Con. We're about
the mouth of the convention.
Yeah, we're about
the mouthpiece.
We're about the mouthpiece of it. We're about 3-4 years old as a convention right now. We're working on our 3rd show, and we are here in Rochester, New York. And Tanya and I are actually 2 of the 5 executive board members. And we just looked at each other. Well, as you're talking about getting to conventions and whatnot, we're looking at each other hey, maybe we can
author
have another author. That'd be great.
Especially one that's part of a tribe.
Yeah, seriously, come on over. We'll throw a D&D game and we'll sit around talking about books all night long.
And he can jump into the whirlpool.
Jump in the whirlpool.
Yeah.
Plate. But if you happen to be in Western New York in in say early June of 2018, and you want to stop by Rochester and see what we've got, we'll roll a table out for you and go from there.
Like around the 9th and the 10th?
Around the 9th and the 10th, maybe. So,
I think the weather's going to be nice then.
It's Western New York. Anything's possible.
Yeah, well,
it could snow. It could snow.
It could have a blizzard.
I'm in Michigan. Snow is not.
Yeah, it's kind of a way of life.
Isn't it like just like
Yeah.
kind of like on the same
People in Michigan and
longitude?
Eskimos both have like dozens of words for snow.
And most of them are obscene.
Yes.
I was just going to say that.
There's a reason I love you.
That's it. That's it. But yeah, seriously,
making me blush.
if we'll carry that conversation offline. But if you're interested, we would love to have you on board and bring you in and introduce you to a whole new crowd of folk.
I do like meeting new folks,
See?
especially geek people.
There you go.
There's a lot
And
of
we
geek
got a
people.
lot of geek people.
Oh yeah.
Geek flag fly.
We in our first year we had a couple thousand people come through the door. We had a couple, just a little bit over that in our second show. Now we're really getting the marketing going, so we're expecting a really good crowd, probably 3 to 4.
No.
That's year 6. This is year 3.
6? Okay.
We got to evolve naturally. We can't force it. So
Right.
we've got a proper convention center and everything here in Rochester. It's very civilized.
Very nice.
So, but yeah, that would be phenomenal to have you on board with us. With that being said, I want to circle around to Rise of the Spider Goddess real quick. I want to pass by her, and it was part of the Prose Killer Chronicles. Was that the only book of the Chronicle? Was there are there other facets of the Chronicles?
No,
that
that's
was
the only book. I was just trying to come up with as over the top a title as I could.
nice.
I like
Okay,
it.
that's what I was hoping you were going to say. Actually,
Yep.
There are.
I-
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that was inspired part. I had a Pat Rothfuss book nearby, and he's working on the King Killer Chronicles.
okay.
And Pat, I mean, he can do that really epic fantasy, and he does it really well.
Yes, he does.
Me, no. If I'm going to do it, it's going to turn into a joke.
Right from the beginning, we have to embrace our strengths and go from there.
Yeah. I have to say that as a friend of several people who want to write, who are working on writing, there are 2 books that I always recommend to them. The first one's been out for a while. It was a book that David Eddings wrote about the process of when he wrote The Belgariad.
Mm-hmm.
And now, since this book has come out, it's been Rise of the Spider Goddess. I've been saying you have to read these 2 books. One will teach you what to do, and the other one will teach you what not to do.
And that was one of the goals.
Yes. There you go.
That and to just sort of have a laugh.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it means a lot to know that the author is willing to take a shot at themselves, because you've got a lot of these folks. I mean, when I grew up in college, and I get the sense that you and I were pretty much contemporaries in our college career.
Very close.
That you meet these people who are they're at the beginning of the adventure, so their opinion of what they're capable of is we'll call it slightly inflated. And I met an actual philosophy major. I didn't know they existed. And that was kind of a bizarre thing to deal with. So to see what they were capable of then, and then to be able to look back at it now and be able to just take an honest look at it and be of good humor about it, I think is very important.
The other aspect is, I mean, there's sort of this whole myth about being a writer, that some people are just born to be writers and they sit down and the words magically flow from them and Hollywood throws all the money. No, that's not how it works. We all suck when we start.
Yes,
it's a
we
skill
do.
you have to learn. And so kind of putting myself out there that, look, it's 2018. I've got 13 books in print. I'm doing okay, but this is where I started.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can get from there to where I am today, y'all have a pretty good shot of doing it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, there is a third book that I recommend to people who want to write, and that's John Scalzi's "You're Not Fooling Anybody When You Take Your Laptop
Take
to
your laptop to the coffee
house."
shop.
Yeah, that's the other one.
I don't think I know that one yet.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay.
Ursula Le Guin had a couple of collections.
Yes.
One of them is called Steering the Craft.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more deep and thoughtful than anything I've put out, and I would venture to say it probably gets a bit deeper than some of John's essays as well. But I could see it being a nice counterpoint.
Yeah.
Read some Le Guin, read some Scalzi, read some Hines, and then just kind of rotate through.
And repeat.
Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat. That's some good advice.
Well, I love reading Le Guin, but I can only read so much at a time because there's just so much there, and my brain, it gets filled up.
Right.
It's like, okay, brain full. I have to go, read Spider Goddess now. Squeeze it all out.
There it is. Let it absorb, and then move on. Oh man, that's fantastic. I think I'm good. Are we good?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
I'm back to
you're
looking
good.
at the covers.
Bad. Okay.
I'm like,
Tanya's
was
just
looking at
scrolling
them,
through
too.
covers at the moment. She's actually trying a couple of the poses out herself and finding.
actually, I think I can contort my body. that
No,
way.
you need a chiropractor for that one. I think.
No. Yeah.
So.
Well, it's funny because I've actually read one of those books that's on your post. I've read the Yasmin Galenorn series, the one that the Indigo Court ones. So I'm like, and I didn't pick the books for the covers. I picked the books truly for the
Right.
story. And I'm like, the covers are like, yeah, okay. And then I go into the story. So that's me personally. But
And then there are times where the cover is better than the book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, I
I've
wish I was
experienced
that person.
I think it was funny. I had a friend of mine from high school show me a short story that I wrote when I was 15, and the best way to describe it would be a grammatical inferno.
Oh, boy.
But all right, we're going to let you off the hook
That
at
would
this
be a-
point. What's that, Jim?
I'm just going to say, when you get to the point where you're putting out your short story collection,
Yes.
that would be an excellent title.
The grammatical inferno. This is
That's coming from an author.
that's seriously. No,
Write
I'll
that
take
one
that.
down.
I'll take that advice in a heartbeat. Absolutely.
I would pick that up.
Oh, see now I have to write it
Did you
now.
Right.
Did you
Damn.
happen to see
Hines.
the spider on his
I
thing?
try to
The-
avoid
the-
spiders
the
whenever
flaming
possible.
spider
Yeah,
that's over here?
Flaming spider. That's a good way to look at spiders. Yes, flaming. Yes, good.
It is a character in the Libromancer books.
Is
I
it?
should warn
There's
you.
a spider
Yes,
in
there's a
the
spider.
okay.
And
I don't like spiders either, but
Thank you, Jim.
Smudge is special.
Okay.
Smudge is special.
he is special.
His name is Smudge. It's Smudge
Many
the
legs.
spider. Wow. Okay.
Smudge has an attitude. He has ended up being more popular than any other character I've done.
Has he really?
In some ways, it's frustrating.
Have you read The Black Company?
That company. Oh, that's Glenn.
Glenn Cook?
Glenn Cook. I have not yet. It's one of many things on my list.
Oh, okay. Because that's one of the series that's like when you were saying Smudge and that spider, it just reminds me of a couple of characters, One Eye and Goblin, the two company wizards that are in The Black Company, and they are trying to one-up each other with practical jokes.
Okay.
So,
Oh, cool.
yeah. So,
Something to look forward to. But
kind of
Smudge the
reminiscent.
spider.
Smudge the spider. I'm definitely going to have to go get
Yeah.
this now.
I saw a spider the other day. It was not Smudge, but he was now smushed.
Splat.
Yeah. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Oh, Jim, thank you very much for your time today. I truly appreciate getting the chance to chat with you.
You are very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Wonderful. And
So
like
you're
I
going to go have a Super Bowl party now?
Not so much.
Okay, you're going to see what
Go.
commercials are happening?
uh-huh.
That is not my geekdom.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not ours either.
It's basically it's D&D for jocks at this
Yes.
point is what's the fantasy
Draft?
football night. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the draft.
And nothing against them. I mean,
No.
we've got our cosplay. They've got their cosplay. We've all got
Oh, you got to remember
Absolutely.
that line, Billy, for
I've
Tertulio.
used it. I've used it.
Yeah.
I know you've used it for Tertulio.
That's outstanding. Yeah, I was at the store earlier today picking up some stuff before I came over to the studio, and somebody was like, "Yeah, Philly, yeah, Patriots," and they look at me and they're like, "Who's going to win?" I'm like, "Yankees." I don't know.
Justin Timberlake?
Justin Timberlake's going to win as long as there's no wardrobe malfunction this year. All right, so this has been Jim C. Hines, Hugo Award-winning author, and we again appreciate your
Go
time.
check out his books.
Go definitely check out his books, Libromancer and the Princess Stories. I wanted to, hey, you know what? I wanted to ask about that next time. We'll have you out to the convention. We'll ask you about the Princess books.
Sounds good.
Sounds great. And I do once again appreciate your time, and we will say our farewells at this stage. Yes, good.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. And out cue time. Love this music. All right, this has been Monkey Business, and I am your host. This is Chris. We are the Mighty Monkey Corporation, purveyors and producers of the Flower City Comic-Con. Coming at you June 9th and 10th, 2018 at the Rochester Riverside Convention Center. Follow us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/FC3ROC. Like us, love us, and sign up on Patreon. And we will see you all soon, and have a great day.